Constantly shifting through the time-space continuum, Metron's three disciples observe the universe from the Mobius Couch.
Abracadabra. Amor u na na. Abracadabra morta u gaga. Abracadabra abra u na na. In her tongue she said death or love on the Mobius Couch.
Good.
A time-space interdimensional vehicle from which your three hosts oversee the world of comic books, comic book movies, comic book shows, manga, toy comics, and that's it. That's all we've covered so far.
Yep,
And ladies and gentlemen, we have a treat for you tonight on the couch because we are going to talk about The Flash, the fastest.
It was almost good.
The Flash. Okay. So
The
about The
fastest man
Flash.
alive. The fastest man alive, you were trying to say. Sorry.
So our previous episode, we did sort of a light part one, talking about the Dead Heat story arc that Mark Waid did in the mid-90s, seminal Flash Wally West run. And today we're talking about the immediately successive arc coming after that, which is Race Against Time. Still by Mark Waid. Jimenez is still doing the art, right? I think it's the same creative team.
Most of it.
Right, with some fill-in, but it's basically the same creative team. And that's it. Joining me on the couch, I'm Alessandro, and joining me are Patrick.
Hello. Good to be back on the couch
What's up?
again.
Patrick's here.
What's up? And Joe.
Hey, Patty. Hey, Al.
Hey,
guys.
yeah.
We're talking about Wally West, the Flash. He's the fastest man alive, guys.
He is the fast. Again, documented. He's raced other speedsters, and he is the fastest.
Yeah, he's documented as the fast. My favorite. You know, my favorite. But we didn't touch on this at all last episode. But my favorite thing about the Flash, Wally West, that is, recently in comics, is that Barry's been back alive for quite some time, and Wally was like kind of shoved off to the side for a while, and then kind of didn't exist for a little while, and then DC Rebirth happened and brought Wally back. Anyway, Wally West is back strong, and Barry's around, and he's still the Flash. So, I mean, like, Wally being the Flash while Barry's here just proves he's the best Flash, right? I mean, like, he's the one on the Justice League. He's the one that's mainlining the Flash comic book. I mean, what's Barry?
Well, he's mainlining a lot of things.
He's mainlining it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He mainlined a little bit too much in that Heroes in Crisis thing where he murdered all
let's
those
not
people.
talk about that. Let's not talk about that.
I mean, it's
fun
not.
Fact, when I was getting ready for that last episode with Dead Heat, apparently that explosion was caused by Savitar, which is like, okay, that's kind of redeeming, but then Wally took steps to hide the crime, which was just crazy.
Look, Patrick,
anyway,
this
we're not
is
talking about that today.
Okay, but I mean, this is in a world
when
where
did they explain that never mind.
But I just mean in the world where a Green Lantern has murdered millions of people in a major urban center.
Yeah. No, he didn't do that.
Not so bad.
Mongol did that.
Wally did.
It was Parallax.
No, Mongol did that. He just went crazy and brought them all back to life like a lunatic.
I think the big thing with that was
around.
that it wasn't, you can blame it on Savitar for killing them, but then Wally is the one that took crazy steps to hide the fact that he had a part to play in it, which was nuts.
Yeah,
I'm kidding. We should cover that.
So
I feel
here's
it was
the thing, though.
I'm
again not excusing that at all because it's a horrible thing to do.
Killing people.
No, covering it up.
Oh, covering it up.
I guess in his brain, he's just like, well, I'll have time to come right back to the beginning because I can travel through time and go like, yeah, this is what happened. But he needed like a minute to figure it out, I guess. I don't know. But again, even that, you're just like, that's fucking, I don't know.
They should do, have they ever done an arc where it's the whole thing is just the Flash constantly going back in time, just to like every second of his life is just going back in time all over the place trying to fix shit?
That would be pretty fun though. They should do something.
And just him going insane trying to do basically like plugging holes in a dam through time. I wonder if they should do something like that.
Make a movie about
it's called Groundhog Day.
I thought it was called the Flash movie.
They did. It's called The Flash. It was in the DCU.
Groundhog Day question. DC. The last day, why did he go to that piano lesson when he was already a piano master.
I may as well have
one of
not
the
seen that
things
movie
that he needs to do.
Okay.
And
But what's the point of doing that lesson if at that point you've
What are
already
you talking
mastered
about?
the song?
When does mastering something stop? You just keep going.
I
You don't
guess
stop learning how to
how
paint.
old is
You
he
just
at the end of
keep
that
learning
movie?
how to paint.
Is he like
12 million
1,000 years old?
I mean, he must have gone insane, right?
Oh yeah,
Kind of-
there's
I mean,
definitely
he
a part of that
must
movie
be
where he
insane.
goes insane. Like,
Do you think there's a day where he
Literally,
kills everybody
he
in the
tries to
town?
kill
Yes.
himself.
I mean,
Extended
I think he basically goes Element Lad and Legion Lost level of insanity. He is a
Yeah. I
12,000
love that
year old
reference,
man.
by the way. Congratulations, Al. That made
But
me
I think
really
he's
happy.
just a 12,000 year old man who's seen this day over.
Also-
I mean, he is probably there's versions
Just-
where he machine gun kills everybody.
Just not to pick on you, but your name should be fucking Abracadabra. Come on. It's so obvious.
It should be.
It's right in front of you.
It should be. But I was referencing.
Anyway, we're
the
talking about
song-
Wally West, the Flash. The past.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Flash
put
today.
let's put the Heroes in Crisis and the Groundhog Day discussion, the Gem and the Holograms drawer.
Just-
Gem and the
just,
holograms
all
drawer.
back.
Put in the
Put
Gem and the Holograms drawer.
Gem and the
Talk about it
holograms
later.
closet. We're done. So, race through time. So when we last left,
Race against time. Yeah.
Race against time. Flash against time. Flash
Flash
against
against
humanity. Yeah. When we last left the Flash, he had sort of merged with the Speed Force, so we don't know where he is. In his place,
He very confidently was like, "I'm going home. Linda's bringing me home," and then lightning struck, and it wasn't him.
Yeah. And instead, it was the stranger-looking Flash, and that was where we ended. So now let's start. And so we find out that this Flash, this dark-haired.
Yeah, we're doing it, Patty. I don't know what he's doing. Every time he tries to dive right in.
What are we doing?
Overall takes.
Are we doing overall takes?
Oh, overall takes. Okay,
Mine's quick.
Start us off, Patrick. Overall take.
So this guy John Fox is like the new
Yeah.
Flash in this, and
Yeah.
I couldn't stand him. I thought he was a terrible character. And then also when Wally's like bouncing through time, and I'm not a fan of that plot device. I don't like it when you're in one place meeting new characters for one issue, and then you're gone onto the next place.
Okay.
So I'm not a fan of this one. Wasn't a fan of this.
But Patrick,
storyline.
Avatar doesn't take you where you want to go. It takes you
honestly-
where you need to be.
I hated.
Avalon.
I could not wait.
Avalon.
Avalon. I could not wait for Goliath and Alyssa. Also, like Alyssa had to be there. Like, why couldn't it be Lexington or Brooklyn
Why
or
is
someone
Alyssa
more
there?
interesting?
Lexington would have been
gargoyles.
way more interesting.
No, the girls were more interesting.
Although
Put your gargoyles talking the Gem and the Hologram store. Let's move back.
Okay, it's all in the Gem and the holograms. We're gonna finish up your take, Patrick.
that was it. This storyline I think was like 7 issues, and it could have been like 3. I think.
I liked this one more than Dead Heat. I really enjoyed this. I just thought, I mean, John Farce, wink, is a horrible person. I mean, he really is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But I still thought I thought he was an interesting character because it's basically he was a non-heroic. Well, but he was a non-heroic figure who was given the Speed Force and just tried his best to be a hero and just could not do it because he didn't have the character for it. And just in his own flawed way tried to help, but then fucked it up and made things worse. So I thought he was kind of interesting. I get Patrick's Avalon complaint. I'm not a fan of the whole timeline of the week construct that we had. But I did like the character work going on here and thought that overall the whole arc was more interesting than just this sort of evil lightning lord in his castle thing we just did. I sort of enjoyed this more. So I enjoyed it. It was good.
Okay. I mean, my overall take is this is the arc that made me fall in love with the Flash. It wasn't the one that came before this. I read that after the fact. I read the first, again, and not the first issue I ever read of the Flash was in this run, but I fell in love with him. So like as a teenager, I started going to the comic shop more frequently and like started picking up books more frequently. And I went, I remember the Flash. I remember liking him when I was a kid. I'm gonna pick this one up and start reading this. And it wasn't this first issue, or it wasn't 112 that we're about to talk about, but it was it's the one where he meets John, actually. And it's the scene of him smashing the glass and freaking out because he can't remember Linda's name, like really struck home with me for some reason. I don't know what it's not like I was married and understood what married life was or to be in love with somebody, but for some reason that struck me as like such a more important, like interesting piece of a superhero that isn't really there in most superhero comics, to be in love with somebody and to like be that important in their life. Like most superheroes are just, you know, it's Batman, he's by himself, like, you know, it's all that kind of thing. And so that really struck me, and I kind of fell in love with it, and I went back and read the issues leading into this, and then I went back and read Dead Heat leading into that, and then I just started picking up all the Flash comics after that. But this is the arc that I fell in love with Wally, and it was really just like his weird attachment and love for his girlfriend / soon to be wife that really brought me into the book.
Yeah, no, I agree. I really liked the relationship with Linda, because in a lot of superhero comics, the girlfriend is just the girlfriend. She's just kind of, he says goodbye, flies out the window, and then you don't see her the rest of the comic. But in Dead Heat 2, in all of this, Linda's really, her partnership to Wally is the main character more than Wally even. It's just the two of them as a pair are the
and I
stars of the comic.
think this arc really hones in on that. That Dead Heat did touch on it, and like Terminal Velocity before that touched on it even more, of course. But like this, for whatever reason, him being lost and like you needing her to get home, like struck a chord with me for some reason. So I was just like, I fucking love this guy, and I'm in 100% kind of thing. And then like that just from there it just compounded. You know, I've fell in love with this character. But
okay, let's talk about it.
Of course, my overall take is the fucking arc is the best. Anyway, yeah. Well, issue 112. Tomorrow's Flash today.
Flash issue 112. So we get introduced to Chillblain, but I do want to talk about John Fox, who we find out that unnamed mysterious Flash at the end of last issue is John Fox. He has the quintessential 90s costume.
Yeah, it's way too busy.
But it looks like the twin red and blue Superman mixed with Kyle Rayner, mixed with everything else. It is just the most 90s costume.
Yeah, it's got the holograms like above his symbol, like his symbol floats above his chest.
It has the tech looking stuff mixed into it.
It's because he's from the future.
Yeah, it is. Also, that whole mask that has the chin part, the open mouth, that also feels very 90s.
That does.
Obviously, his hair is out. You know, the whole top of the head is out. It's just the most 90s.
Yeah, he
costume
is very 90s.
You could have.
So the fill-in artist, what is his name?
Hannibal Rodriguez.
No, Rodriguez?
Castrillo.
Anthony Castrillo. Oh, Hannibal Rodriguez does the inks, but
yeah, right. Colorists never get their due, as we've discussed before. So,
yes.
At any rate, I mean, I'm not for the '90s. Not a bad artist. He's '90s artist, but coming off of Oscar Jimenez to this, I'm like, oh, okay. Or like so, like the issues that deal with Wally. Spoiler alert, are drawn by Oscar Jimenez, and then the issues back in time or in the present, so to speak, are with Castrillo, and I'm like, oh man, this is brutal. So like every issue, you're like, okay, and then like when it's in the future with Wally, I'm like, oh good again, and then I'm like, all right, like so, you know, it's the art in this is not as good overall, but you know, it's okay. But yeah, we get introduced to Chillblain. He's this ridiculous villain that turns out isn't really the villain. He's just
ridiculous.
Is he Captain Cold's gun or something? Like what?
Yeah, I think it's just like some. So
I think
the Golden Glider villain.
Everybody has
What's her name?
Golden Glider.
Isn't
Golden Glider. Captain Cold's
Captain
sister?
Cold's daughter or sister?
Yeah, it's called Captain Cold's sister.
But Chillblain is unrelated.
She's been giving out his tech to like just boy toys that she like has sex with to get crimes done for her and give her money. And then this one is like, I'm actually not an idiot, and I found out your dumb plan. So like the idea is that he's like more dangerous than the other Chillblains, but like who cares?
Yeah.
But also he kills her.
I had a big problem with how everyone just accepts John Fox as being
it's very
who he
quick.
says he is, and Linda just invites him to live with her.
Well, I have a lot of when we get there. I have a lot of comments on what's going on with Linda and John and how appropriately she dresses around this stranger at her home.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I feel like women can dress however they want. You know?
It's just if someone you've known a minute is at your house, she wears.
Why are you wearing a long t-shirt? You know,
I did like that she
invited. Maybe put some pants on.
She dresses pretty provocatively around a man
put some
she
sweats
doesn't
on,
know.
You know,
she dresses pretty provocatively around a man she doesn't know.
I honestly, I think that's art choice.
She did invite her gay best friend to also live.
She did invite the gay best friend for protection.
And John Fox is pissed about it.
Yeah. And he's like, he's here to protect her from me. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly why he's there.
Yeah. Well, John has very Duke Lacrosse team energy.
Yeah.
He just seems like entitled. He's an entitled, rapey piece of shit.
He's from the future where he's been completely sidelined.
Well, that's kind of like
as an individual.
He seems emotionally stunted, like a 12-year. Like he has this idea that like, well, Linda's my girlfriend now because she's a reporter, and Flashes have girlfriends that are reporters, and I'm the Flash, and I do like how Piper's like, why are you here exactly?
Yeah, Piper knows what's up.
Like even Max Mercury and Jay.
The worst thing they ever did to Piper was eventually like make him a villain again, because like Piper being like Wally's like best friend basically like throughout this entire run, it kind of doesn't culminate here. I mean, I guess it kind of like comes to fruition later. Underworld Unleashed fucked with Piper a little bit. I mean, like we kind of get a hint.
It was the Jeff Johns thing, I think. It was a Jeff Johns thing later on with
it was a Jeff Johns thing. Whatever. But like during Mark Waid's run.
Also, Piper
and Wally were like really good friends, and it was great. It was a great dynamic. It was really fun.
Piper's got quite a butt on him in that one panel when he's comforting Linda.
Was he serving cake or whatever?
The ass,
caked up? Yeah.
You know?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, plus he's got that green Irish Donegal turtle.
Yeah.
I mean, look at him.
That's right.
He's the Piper. His whole deal is that he has a flute. You know?
Linda does have a fucking choker on. I just like, girl.
I mean...
And then I had to laugh.
I would say it's bad and it's 90s art, but we just read an Ultimate Spider-Man arc where Mary Jane wore the same outfit.
Yeah, but the thing is, Mary Jane...
Drawn in 2025.
No,
so
Mary Jane wore the choker out. Linda's in sweatpants at home and puts a choker on.
Yeah.
At home.
And she
what
does.
You wake up in the 90s, you put a choker on.
I guess.
You sleep in the choker.
Anyway, it's just messed up. But to both of your earlier point, everybody accepts John Fox way too, because he's literally replacing Wally. He's just saying, "I'm the Flash here now. Wally might come back or not, but I'm here. Don't worry about it." And everyone just says, "Okay, fine."
Even with the panel that Joe has pulled up right now with Excess trying to get back to the future, John's like, "Just trust me," and she runs on a treadmill and disappears. And Jay Garrett's
what if it turns out she died? Like,
no, she could be anywhere. She could be anywhere.
On that note, I think this is handled better in Impulse's comic. I think she has like a proper like send off, and John's just kind of there in the background. Like, I made this thing, and they have like a more of a thing going on. But in this, they were like, she left. All right, she left in Impulse's comic. Let's just do this thing.
But I think this is
I can't remember, so I could be wrong.
But this is also, but Patrick, I think
anyway, but to that point, it's
sending
weird.
her back to the future, I think, is kind of what earns them the trust of the greater Flash family, because they, he did him a solid. But it is,
I just know
because she's stuck there.
They don't, but they don't. They also
because that's Barry's treadmill. Like that's like the whole thing. Like they've seen Barry run through time on that thing 100 times. So like when she's like,
built it in front of them,
and it works.
He built it in front of them.
Yeah, from parts.
Joe, she could be running into a T-Rex's mouth.
I'm just saying, in terms of their understanding of how shit happens in the Flash world, this is completely normal. That's all I'm saying. There's nothing to be like, that's weird, and I should be concerned about this.
So another thing,
just back to Linda's attire. There is that I texted you guys about it, but just she's wearing spaghetti straps, and then her tits are like out, like the cleavage is insane. And then she literally says into the universe, she says, "I may not have the cleavage to be a sword swinging superheroine."
Yeah, she's got triple G's or whatever.
Yeah, I'm like, they make a point to like, I couldn't tell if it was a joke or if it was just like the 90s were so crazy, I think that's with just objectifying.
I think it's B. It's like, yeah, it's the 90s that were
for sure. But I think that like the writing doesn't match up with the art sometimes, and like so that's why I like when a fill-in artist comes in on like a book like this, and I'm like, they're just drawing TNA left and right, and the artist is or the writer is like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have drawn her with her tits hanging out when that's the line that I gave you. Like, I think there's certain, like with monthly books like this, there can be a disconnect between the writer and the artist, and I think that's probably what is going on there.
I guess, but also the writer should know that no artist alive in the 90s
is gonna not draw
would have drawn her with less than triple Z's or whatever she's got.
Like it's borderline like Elvira, like Mistress of the Dark level. Like it's almost that.
It's funny,
which is why it gets weird, because then going back to the art point, you know, later when John kind of gets the hots for Linda, it's. I want to be careful about what I say, because I don't ever think, I don't want to imply that women ever invite unwanted attention, but I just mean she's half naked in her house all the time.
Yeah, why though? Because of the artist.
Well, but that's what I mean. But it's weird. You have to like suspend that disbelief and read just the words for it to make sense. Because if you look at it, it's
in this case, yes.
Like if you look at it, it's two super hot people living together, half naked around each other, and you're kind of like, well, I guess, of course they'd want to hook up. But
and then there's all like
that isn't the reality. That isn't the narrative that is actually happening. It's just
later on, like Linda reiterates that like I'm into Wally, not you. But there's I was questioning her mental state, because in this first issue, John gets hurt on a mission, and she takes his shirt off and starts like feeling his body for like. I'm just like, girl,
well,
what
that's
are
first
you
aid,
doing?
Patrick.
What's happening?
That's first aid. Is she supposed to not apply first aid? He's hurt, Patrick.
He's not hurt though.
She's feeling his body and says, "Does this hurt?" And then he's like, "No." And then she's like, "And we're done."
Yeah,
it's not like it's not like she's like, "Well, what about this?" and moves her hand down.
And then he puts on a shirt that says "Raw Dog."
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Oh, rain. Oh, I misread that. Oh, it's rain. Okay, I thought it said "Raw Dog," and I was like, "Oh."
It just says "Raw Dog." It just says "Raw Dog."
Raw Dog.
Anyway, the dynamic was strange for several issues.
But I think to Joe's point, it is the art. It's the disconnect.
It's definitely the disconnect between the art
and what the narrative wants.
I guarantee if Oscar Jimenez had drawn this issue, we would not be having this conversation.
Yeah.
Also, we get a classic Flash slipping on ice routine.
Yeah, and then he makes fun of, and he's mad about it and throws a tantrum. And then
this scared me.
John, what's wrong?
Yeah,
he's a little fucking unhinged, dude.
Yeah.
It does. That scene in particular made you think there was something more sinister.
I didn't think it was.
I mean, he's a piece of shit.
I didn't think it was sinister. I just felt like he's like, God damn it, I'm supposed to be fucking cool, and I'm not. Like, that's all I read that as when I was like.
Well, I agree, but I did think it was kind of scary, just the idea that he's that unhinged. Even if all it is like, oh shit, but all it takes is that for him to destroy a room is kind of scary. But he is he's a loser. He's a D student trying to be the Flash, and that's frustrating.
Yeah. You're going to get frustrated when you're not as good as Wally
This
West.
is what I mean. Look at what she's wearing. Like, her shirt
That's
opens
my point.
up into...
I'm sure the script was just like, and Linda and him are back at the house.
Right. And
wearing
the artist...
clothes or something. And the artist is like, how about a long tee with a big slit up the side?
No, the artist is like, I know exactly what you mean, Mark. And then,
and you're just like, no, that's not... That's portraying a very different scene. Kind of thing.
But at the end of this issue, we do find out that Wally Flash is alive. And
Wally materializes where he doesn't know where he is, and he's at the corner of First and First, and it's the future, and he doesn't know what's going on.
All right, and the next, so Flash 113 is an Avalon issue. This is the Flash in a timeline that doesn't matter, and you will never hear about again. And this issue doesn't really matter.
It does.
He's in a future where everyone worships the Flash, and apparently.
So the last time he was here, and he kind of explains it like it's the timeline. So he's in the very far future. So basically, he's bouncing off the Speed Force throughout this series, moving closer to the present. So he's in the far future currently, and he'll just get closer and closer to the present as we go. But like he kind of describes it as like the last time I was here, I was fighting Abracadabra. He's from like the far, far future, and like I freed these people from like authoritarian regime rule, kind of thing. But because he freed them, now that he's back, they've like turned their society into like worshiping him, and he's like, this isn't good. Kind of thing. Yeah. So it's kind of an issue of him going like, this is cool and everything, but it's a little creepy, and also I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't know why are you guys listening to me, kind of thing. And he tries to hand them off like, I don't know, pieces of knowledge that are like, hey, this is maybe a better way to build your society and not base it off of me saving you one time.
Right. But by the end of it, he basically, there's this sort of high priest of the Flash that he realizes is a pretty smart guy, and he basically gives him the reins of, you know what, you can decide.
Yeah, he's like the one guy in current society that doesn't like give something up halfway through because they're not finished, or kind of thing.
So Wally could have introduced, I don't know, democracy.
He does.
Or something or that isn't an autocratic.
He does literally do that. What are you talking about?
Also, though, I don't know. He's like, all these people are like insane, and I don't know if democracy would have worked real well in that society.
Yeah, I mean they have Judge Dredd cops. I mean, I know it's a quick illustration, but like they have Judge Dredd cops, guys.
They do have Judge Dredd cops. They do have Judge Dredd cops.
He saves a little kid falls off a bridge, and he saves it because he's just like, oh, that's normal.
That's not a kid, dude. That's a 45.
Out.
That's a 45-year-old man.
It's a tiny infant. What are you talking about?
Look at the wrinkles on that. Oh no, that's not the person he saves. That's someone else. That's okay. I do want to make a quick Snyder Zeus note, and we talked about this in the JLA comic we did too, but 90s Wally shredded.
He's ripped
to shit.
He's whipped.
Look at that.
Look at it.
Look at that.
Ripped.
Dude,
one of the best.
You
know what? Look at the cover of this issue. Look at that guy. Look at him.
Yeah,
I mean, dude is
Jesus Christ
shredded.
I mean, John Fox is also pretty.
If you could work out at light speed,
I guess you would just look like I mean, he looks like a Mr. Olympia.
Also, that cover, man,
take 30 seconds.
Those little kids latching onto his legs like that.
I mean,
those are adult women.
That's an adult woman. That's a young child.
That's a little boy.
It's a little boy.
Little boy.
Is that
it actually resembles the little boy he saves in the book, though. So I guess I get it. But at the same time, you're like,
see the image is small. Okay, that is a little boy, and
it's definitely a little boy hugging his leg.
It is an adult woman and a little boy. The little boy also.
At least it's not a little girl. What's worse, little boy hugging his leg with a little girl?
Well, is the little boy?
I think at that age, the sex doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you should.
But would it be worse if it was a little girl and a little boy? That's got to be worse. At least one of them being an adult makes it okay. At least
I think it makes it worse that one of them isn't. If it were two children holding on to him, it would seem more innocent.
You'd be like, oh yeah, the kids love me. Get off me, kids. But then when one's an adult, you're like, that's
there's an adult woman and then a little boy. That's what makes it creepy.
I would also say I think it would be better if it was an adult man and a little girl than an adult woman. And there's something about the fact that her tits are like wrapped around his
straddling his thigh, like they are sandwiching his thigh.
That's his knee. That's his knee.
Yeah. I don't know.
Still, tits wrapped around your knee is not much better. At any rate, Wally finds out that one of the main reasons, of course, not only to unlock or reverse all the damage he had done in this time period the last time he was here, inadvertently. The main reason that he had been brought here is because they had like constructed some sort of Speed Force tower.
A Tower of Babel.
That actually drew him there. So like,
it was the Tower of Babel to the Speed Force.
It was the Tower of Babel, yeah.
Yeah, in the present day, John Fox is like basically kind of convincing Linda that Wally probably is never going to come back. So
yeah, Linda's
and she
upset.
should stop.
And
Being
he's like,
so
Linda,
depressed
what's
about it.
wrong, buddy? And he's because Wally's not coming back. Oh shit, I shouldn't have said that out loud.
So
then he's like, let me comfort you.
But another Linda note. So how old is she? She is in bed straddling, I mean, like with her hips, straddling a box of tissues and holding a teddy bear. And Wally's
She's holding a teddy bear and crying.
Like
That's
25? Are they like
ring.
in their mid-20s, maybe?
They got to be late 20s at this point.
Is this like Final Cut? Are they 19?
No, they're not 19. They're
yeah, but this is the real
easily almost
creepo. But this is John Fox at his creepoist, because we later find out he knows well and good that Wally isn't coming back. He's a piece of shit moving it. He's trying to cuck
he knows
Wally.
Wally's not coming back, but why isn't Wally coming back?
Because he's cucking him. Because
John's there.
He's actively cucking him.
We find that out later.
Yeah. But then he tries to kind of divert Linda's attention into, hey, why don't we go find that Chilblain guy?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, so they go off to find this. I only have one shot of this, but or one bit of them in my pictures. But when they go and find Golden Glider and they're like, oh, there's some plans here and shit. And she sees Golden Glider behind her and she chucks the lamp at her and she smashes. I'm like, Linda just murdered somebody? And I don't yeah, she dead already, probably.
No, she murdered the person.
But she murdered that person, right? I mean, it's comic books. If the person is a frozen block of ice, in theory, you could thaw them out somehow, right? So by Linda,
they thaw Linda out later. So yeah, you very much could thaw.
That's very
she
specifically
murders
with
that.
Wally, but all right.
But she murders that woman. Also, Golden Snowball seems like a sex act.
Yeah, that's not.
A golden snowball? It sounds like something sexual.
What?
Golden snowball recoveries is what they sneak into.
Oh.
That's Golden Glider's office.
Golden snowball is when you make a pea snowball.
Yeah, I mean, but it sounds like a Cleveland steamer or something. Or
it's definitely a sexual
vampire mudslide, that kind of shit. A golden snowball.
At any rate, Wally is like, hey, here's some documents that you should look at that actually help you build a better society. I'll see you later. And then basically,
it'd be funny if the books he gave them were like Project 2025.
Oh my god! It basically
those kinds of books. And he's like, here, read these. No, but I'm kidding. It's actually Mahatma Gandhi biographies, which
it's Gandhi and Common Sense and the Constitution, I guess. If you follow it by the letter,
that's what we're trying. That's all we're trying to do. That's all we're trying to do. That's all. That's why.
At the time, not so controversial, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
At any rate, he uses the Speed Force tower to kind of kickstart him back into the Speed Force, and he races off into the Speed Force, and it shatters.
Yeah, and a few back to Linda and John. Couple things. Linda. So she's wearing a brown fanny pack around a black cat suit.
Cat suit.
I don't know about
it works. I love it.
Really? Okay.
That's her investigative outfit.
Also, this
is kind of what I'm talking about. Think about the art disconnect here. This is the artist's idea of what an investigative reporter wears.
Would wear that, I guess. But also, she has capri pants.
Tall,
her calves are out.
Capri pants, tall socks.
Yeah, her pants are out.
Brown fanny pack. What the fuck? Put her in normal goddamn clothes, dude.
Also, do you think
when you look at that and you go back to the weird shit she's wearing earlier in the episode, you're like, it's not that bad.
Also, do you think John planned this so that she would kill Frozen Golden Glider and he could emotionally manipulate her further? Using the guilt of murder.
Honestly, he has super speed, so that lamp through the air really slowly.
I mean, he watched it happen.
He watched. For him, it happened in slow motion.
She was like, "Holy shit!" and she picked up a lamp and threw it, and it hadn't even left her hand. And he's like, I could stop this, or
this is going to traumatize her, and I can really.
Or I could get closer to her.
And then he hugs her and says, "No, it was all right. She was already dead. You couldn't have known." I think it was all manipulation.
I agree. John Fox is a creep. He's a creep. I hate him.
Yeah, another creep, Chilblain. He's different. Welcome to the Ice Age. He's built different, apparently.
Yeah, he's not.
Well, it's weird because Linda picks up on that. She's like, he's different from the other Chilblains. He's dead behind the eyes, but she doesn't pick up on She doesn't ask him any. Like,
I think John is half genuine,
that John,
so I think there's parts of John that like trick her into thinking that she could trust him.
But in the last issue, Lynn is like, "You said you know Wally, right?" And he was like, "Kind of." And then he changed the subject. I'd be like, "What do you mean by kind of? Where the fuck? How did you meet him? What happened?
I would need more
Like,
information. I would need more.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Kinda.
And this is a reporter. She's not verifying sources. She's not getting second quotes or anything. I mean, she's just okay.
Listen, Abracadabra. No one said she was a good reporter.
That's true. They never say she's good.
We've never talked about how good of a reporter she is. She's no Lois Lane, you know?
She's okay. Issue 114, Speed Trap. This is another Avalon issue that doesn't matter.
Well,
they all matter.
Dawn, which, I mean, how fucking stupid Barry and Iris name your kids Dawn and spell it different. Like, fucking stupid.
When I read that, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe that was real. I thought, what? That can't be real. That can't be real.
But they're twins. You have to name them something fun.
Like Dawn and Dawn.
Like Dawn and Dawn.
And Dawn?
Yeah, Dawn and Dawn.
Like, Dawn? That's...
At any rate, we meet the Tornado Twins. It's there's kind of a funny moment where they're using their powers in secret in like an old factory or something, and then Wally kind of pops in and says "Racia," and they freak the fuck out, and then they're like, "Holy shit!" And then they're like, "Dad?"
Well, they think it's their dad.
Daddy? And he's like, "No, bro, it's me and Wally."
Yeah, they're all jealous of each other. Like Wally's jealous of them. And
because Wally was like an adopted son to Barry, and so they're jealous of that because Barry died before he could be their dad.
From Wally's perspective, he's jealous of them because they're his actual children, and they're like the son and daughter of the father he never had, kind of thing. And he has this concept that they like knew each other and like loved each other in the future and had this life together. When in reality, Barry was around for like a heartbeat and then died. And then like basically like they grew up without their father, and all they ever heard about was how great Wally was and how like Wally and Barry had this great relationship together. So like from their side of the spectrum, they're like, fuck that guy. And from his side of the spectrum, he's like, I wish I could be his real son, you know, kind of thing. And it's like they have this like weird, and I kind of, for that alone, this issue is kind of fun for me. But like,
but then what would Wally's real father think? I mean, what a slap in the face.
Wally's real father is a piece of shit. We know.
Oh, really? He's like a John Fox.
Yeah, he's a real piece of shit.
But so the whole point of this storyline is so basically Dawn and Dawn are hiding their powers because their asshole mom told them to not be heroes.
Well, no, it's not just their mom. They're in like a period of time in the future where like being
it's just their mom,
different or like outlying is
it's
like
their mom,
outlawed.
Joe. It's their mom,
sorry,
Joe.
Yeah. Well, it's also very xenophobic.
Iris is a problem.
It's very MAGA related.
It is. Yeah.
We've been very political in these issues.
But the whole point, but the whole point of the issue is that basically Wally teaches them what it means to be a hero, and you should use your power for good, and they see that and they great. And
have comic books always been woke like this? Have they always been like this?
They have, which is why
it's recent. It's only recent when they made Superman gay. Before that, they were pretty conservative.
It's funny because like this is the shit that I grew up reading, and it's like kind of formed who I am as a human. and then now that I'm a grown ass adult, I'm like, well, that's silly. Of course I'd want to be a part of the United Planets, you know, kind of thing. Whereas like I guess most people don't have that, or you know.
But that's why all the
people that are horrible.
Yeah, but that's why all the recent polemics and stuff around modern comics are ridiculous. Comics have always been progressive. They've always been about tackling racism,
always
sexuality, all that stuff. So it's crazy that now they're like, oh, well, Superman can't be bisexual. That's insane. Well, comics have always been on the forefront of social movement.
He's a fucking alien. He's an alien. He's interspecies.
But he's the hot alien who looks like us.
Yeah, he looks like us.
He looks like us. Okay, he's the right kind of foreign. Okay.
So Wally goes up to save this alien that's basically going to be lynched in the streets, but he's
and he gets his ass kicked. He gets his ass kicked by
with
guys without
with night
powers.
like Billy Club nightsticks. He just gets
okay. So I mean, they explain it.
After he says, "Let me show you how it's done," to Barry's kids, he proceeds to get his ass kicked, and the two twins are like, "Should we help him?" And they're like, "No."
He goes. All right, he's like, "Oh shit, these manacles are better made in the 30th century. I lost precious seconds vibrating them loose." And he's like, "It's not a problem. I'm dealing with cattle. They're no threat unless one of them gets in the luckiest of shot." And he says shots, and he gets cracked in the head. Basically, He's like, "I'm good. This took me 1 second longer than I expected, and as long as they don't get the." Anyway, they crack him in the back of the head, and then they beat the crap out of him.
They beat the shit out of him.
I mean, it's real police brutality.
If there's a way to take out the Flash, it's getting in a lucky shot
or ice,
or ice, or just ice. Just gotta get some ice in there.
But the twins do come through. They do little tornadoes and save.
Yeah. They wait until the alien gets branded though, because they're real cool. They're kind of
the alien. No, they say the alien already had a brand.
No, Wally already has a brand, and it's his symbol on his chest. They brand the fuck out of the alien, kid.
Because the Rigelian seems to already live with a brand. Oh, is Flash the Rigelian?
Yeah,
he's a Rigelian.
They brand the Coolian kid.
Okay.
Brainiac.
I see. Okay, so he was referring to the Flash
with the planet Earth, and then they're about to do it to Wally, and he's like, "This guy already has a lightning bolt on his chest. Like, what does that mean?"
All right, but then back in real time, we find out, and so there's more Chillblain stuff, but we also find out that behind Chillblain is the Master of Magnetism, Polaris.
Kind of loved Polaris.
He was big in the 90s.
Polaris, this is the most Polaris I saw, like ever.
He's the
oh really? He was all. I felt like he was
ripoffs.
all over the 90s. He was in an Aquaman run that I read. He was a big 90s villain. He was kind of getting around.
Didn't know much about him. He was always kind of like an Infinite Crisis, like tied up to the machine at the end or something because they needed magnet powers. But I don't know.
He also, I kind of like. His costume is also super 90s, but he has sort of a Galactus mask look. Like
I do kind of like
Galactus mask.
Yeah.
Look at
he's also very like theatrical, like Magneto.
He's like
Mysterio. He's like Mysterio.
He's got a
Magneto.
billowing blue cloak with like gold and purple, and he's got like Colossus ribs on his arms. Like I don't know what. He's all over the place. This costume is insane.
It is insane.
He's got thigh high boots with
never a
knee
wrong
pads.
Yeah.
It's called power clashing.
Yeah,
look it up. It's fucking all over the place. Why does his legs have the Colossus thing? That would make more sense.
Only the arm. You only need it in the arms.
Yeah.
But he is, to Patrick's point, he is sort of he's not like Mysterio in that. I mean, he does have real powers, but he does like to put on a scene, be very theatrical. He's sort of
which fits right in with the mysterious character that he's partnered with, and we don't know who that is.
We don't know who that is yet. We don't know that it's.
But we find out that Polaris and somebody else are behind like this
the Ice
deeper.
Age. They're behind
this deeper thing going on. It has nothing to do with Chillblain, apparently.
But in the
using
meantime,
him as a patsy. And in the meantime, they have Iris captured. And we know how we all feel about Iris.
Yeah, don't give a fuck, girl.
Yeah,
like you're from the future. You should have known this was going to happen.
All the time. So I just want this one last Iris thing I'll say. All the time she spent hiding the future from the good guys, and she wrote it the fuck out for villains.
No, she could have just made stuff up.
All the time she told the heroes, I can't tell you, it would influence stuff. She just sat there writing it down.
Guys, look at her. She's got a number 2 pencil.
I guess technically, did they put a spell on her to like make her write?
I think she's just a piece of I think she's just an asshole.
No, she's just captured and being threatened, I think. To my knowledge.
Yeah. Okay. And in the meantime,
Whirlwinds save Wally.
Yeah.
And then in the meantime, he's like, hey, let's get rid of this jealousy. Sorry, Al, go ahead.
Well, just that the issue ends on this cliffhanger of John Fox falls into a shark tank.
Oh, yeah.
At the aquarium.
I'm more concerned with Wally West.
Well, but we already talked about it. He teaches the kids how to be heroes and he leaves.
I know, but like this part
it's Avalon, dude. Move on. It's Avalon.
Let's get past Let's get past our differences and then move on. I do like this part of like following the source seems to be my road home, and then they're like, seems to be, and he's like, it is, just fucking run, goddamn it. It's kind of a joke, but like I kind of love how he very purposefully isn't like letting onto them how dangerous it is what he's doing. He's like, I need your help, but also I could die. Don't worry about that. I could die.
Okay, back to the aquarium. Another quick note. Why does Linda, for this infiltration, dress like a horse barn? Or is it, she's got equestrian boots and work gloves and jeans.
At least she's wearing normal clothes.
Those aren't normal clothes. Those are horse barn clothes.
Maybe you know what it is? They went into the last scenario and they were like, oh, we're going to be cold in the next scene. So I can put more clothes.
But she's not wearing
I can't do capri pants and a fanny pack. I got to do full on boots and gloves.
I just don't understand why she's dressed weirdly in this.
We can't understand Linda's clothing choices when it's not drawn by Oscar Jimenez.
But Chilblain gets the jump on them, and John Fox lands in a Shark Tank.
Yeah, which is very
Shark Tank, and the Sharks did not buy his product. Am I right?
Ridiculous.
The Sharks did not.
They're not into it.
In his Sharks were not impressed with John Fox's pitch. I do like it's the next issue, but just the offhand way that Linda's like, oh no, I killed endangered species, and John Fox just, don't worry about it. Like, they're just sharks, don't worry about it. They're not people. I think he says something like, they're not people, even though you've already murdered a person in our other thing.
But she murdered a person because he let her murder a person.
Yeah, but don't worry about killing these innocent animals. But whatever. Okay, but we begin this issue by seeing behind the scenes at asshole John Fox's origin, and that he has met Wally. And we first meet them together when he has Wally holed up in a fucking jail cell.
Oh, he does it. Speed Metal does.
Whatever, man. It's not a good look.
He's just the warden. He's just the warden of a prison.
It's not a good look, bro.
He lets him right out.
It is not a good look, bro.
He literally had Wally. They threw Wally in a jail cell, and he went, "What am I doing? This isn't cool." And he lets Wally out. Come on, give him credit where credit's due.
He's kind of a good person at
right now.
At this point, because he hasn't quite gotten into the mode of I'm going to steal Wally's life just yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Wally kind of like quickly explains, like, I don't know why I was drawn to this time period in particular, but most likely it's because of you. And then he's like, listen, this is the path I'm on. Like, it's getting dangerous. Like, I'm starting to slip more and more. So this is the point. Again, this is the point where he's starting to lose himself more. So, like, it's getting dangerous. Like, every time he goes in, he's like, I don't know if I'm going to come back out. And again, not to belabor.
Yeah, because it's almost like a little bit of
Wally West.
A little bit of him is absorbed into the Speed Force every time he touches it.
Yeah, or rather, it gets harder and harder for him to get out. I don't know if it's like he's losing literally pieces of himself. Although it does seem that way because he doesn't remember Linda's name.
Well, they do intimate that as Linda kind of drifts towards John Fox, that weakens the connection that the Flash has to his reality and all that.
So we flash back to John, and Linda saves him.
And so again, this is where she murders a bunch of sharks to save him, and he says it's fine. But this one also confused me because she bashes Chilblain, takes this gun, and frees John. And in the 2 seconds that happen, Chilblain gets away and then gets murdered.
And Polaris murders him.
By Polaris? But then Polaris is already right back at his evil lair?
No, that's a cutscene now.
I just all of that.
That's one page to another.
Speaking of Polaris,
also again, art-wise, him getting murdered. I was like, is he dead? What is that? It's just an outline of a drawing.
There's kind of blood,
and then there's blood and I'm like, what's happening?
Well, DOA means dead on arrival, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Dead or alive? Dead on arrival.
Dead. Oh,
dead on arrival.
Dead on arrival. Speaking back to Polaris's costume, he
Uh-huh.
has the most 90s belt you could imagine. Where
All of it's
it
90s.
wraps
The whole thing is 90s. Look at the
But he
cloak.
has this
Look at the
weird
cape.
belt where part of it wraps around one upper thigh and then links back into a belt around his waist.
Guys, I don't know when the last time you wore one of these belts was, but I just did it the other day, and I love the belt that goes right around one side.
Yeah,
not
it's a
both,
super normal
just
belt.
one side. But then I also have a diagonal belt connecting those two things. None of it makes any sense.
All right, but this is where we.
I did like when he gets back to the base and his partner says, "How did it go?" And Polaris says, "Smashingly." Like, so dramatic. Definitely a theater kid.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, and then we get more scenes of sort of Iris crying as she tells them the future.
As she tells them the future.
So I guess
like,
that makes
fuck
it okay,
you, but I'll keep writing because you told me to.
What?
I don't know. They told her to, Patty. She can't be expected to hold out against that torture.
All right, so Back to the Future. This was a part I lost it. Like, I spit my coffee all over my iPad when I read this because, like, they're just talking about time travel and the future and all that. And Wally says, like, "Oh, but you all are time travelers yourselves, and yet you're suspicious of time travelers. Why?" And then this evil cape dude from nowhere goes, "Because they have reason to be." Like, from nowhere, just evil dude twirling his mustache appears in the background.
Kronos.
Like, Kronos is here.
You're focusing on the wrong moments. So this fucking made me fall in love with Wally West. So like him going like, I can't remember her name and smashing the glass and freaking out, and he's like crumbling as a character. By the way, like in the 90s, if you drew a character that doesn't have facial hair with stubble, that means they're unraveling. Like if Batman had stubble in the 90s, you're like, oh shit, he's about to get his back broken by Bane.
Right.
You know, like that was like a huge, I was like, holy shit, he's fucking losing it.
No, this was peak, right? If somebody had like 7 o'clock stubble, that meant
also
he's
here's why John is the biggest piece of shit. Because he knows what's happening right now, or at least he kind of comprehends it. He smashes the glass, says, I can't remember her name. I can't even remember her name. And he falls down crying. And then the next scene, he's like, he starts to like apparate. Like he's like separating from time. Like lightning is like, you know, he's not solid. And then John just goes, oh, and then waits a second. And then Wally just goes, tell me about you. Tell me why you're part of the Flash dynasty. Like, what's going on? Like, kind of thing. Like, he doesn't go like, hey, her name's Linda. It's not until later on after the fights like happened and he's starting to fade again that he's like, hey, her name is Linda. And again, like, I mean, that scene to me is very powerful and awesome. But at the same time, you're like, dude, you could have said that.
Like, so let's take a second. Let's talk about John Fox's character.
All right, let's talk about John Fox.
So, all right, first of all, his origin. So he was this future guy who researched tachyon streams or something to help his time, but then ended up absorbing them in the Speed Force and becoming the Flash and heroically saving his timeline. However, after that, the future just developed basically Flash robots that are more efficient Flashes and replaced him as a hero. They just world police.
So there was a Flash annual where John Fox is introduced and goes back in time and meets Jay Garrick and fights a villain with Jay. And then he meets Barry and fights a villain with Barry. And he meets Wally and fights a villain with Wally. You know, like he goes through time fighting the same villain that he then has to go back to the future and fight that same villain or whatever. And like throughout that, he like learned how to be the Flash. And he was kind of like a one-off character. But they brought him back for this scenario. So like the end all of that like annual of him being like, I'm the Flash of the future kind of thing turns out he's just like a guy that watches after a museum of time shit that doesn't get to do anything because like they've replaced
because they have speed robots. But back to his character. This is what I meant by, you know, he's not a villain. He doesn't have nefarious goals of I want to destroy the world or anything like that. But he's just sort of a weak in character person who was given powers and the role of a hero and wanted that. Like he wants to be a hero. But, being a hero isn't about wanting, acting like a hero is different than just wanting to be a hero. So again,
from his perspective, he's a hero in another time, but not in his own. So like he's like, well, why the fuck would I stay here? And he puts on those time gauntlets and leaves. Yeah.
But so I like him as even though he is a piece of shit person, I think he's an interesting character in that he's just this deeply flawed, insecure, weak person trying to be a hero in the way they conceive it to be. Which I mean, we'll talk about at the end, the redemption. But like at this point in time, he's not really being heroic, but it's just.
I mean, he's trying in his own way at this point. Like the John Fox of this era, I don't have a problem with. It's like the decision he makes after this that goes back in time and fucks everything up is like when he.
Well, knowing his big character flaw is Wally kind of explains that Linda is his lightning rod to get home.
Yeah,
and. So
John decides to cuck him.
He knows for a fact that that's what's. He of all the women in the 20th century, he could have gone.
Yeah, but Linda's the best, dude. She's an awesome reporter and a badass.
So great. one of the tiny aspects of like that's not super covered here, but this story arc leads right up into Final Night, which is like a huge DC overall arching story arc that like where the sun was put out and basically like it was like winter on Earth everywhere. Yeah. It's when Hal stops being the Spectre, I think, and becomes. Or wait, no, he restarts.
He stops being Parallax. Yeah, he
stops being Parallax
and becomes a Spectre.
But he kills himself to like restart the sun or whatever. But like, it's a huge story arc, and like. This is kind of like hinting at like that's what Abracadabra and Polaris are doing. They're like, oh, we start this ice age. We are the ones who did it, so we know it succeeds because they're reading Linda's book or whatever. The key being is like there's certain parts of like the future or like rather the past for John Fox that aren't like known around this time period because of like what happened or whatever. So him thinking Wally doesn't come back is genuine. Like he's not like I'm gonna go back in time and cause that. He genuinely thinks Wally doesn't come back. So like,
but he's still not acting.
Oh no, not at all. I'm just saying there are aspects of like what he's doing that's not like completely horrible. Like
but again,
he's not going back. I'm going like, well, I'm going to fuck with Linda, and that will be the reason Wally doesn't come back. He just
and I think he genuinely. I mean, I do think he genuinely gets a crush on Linda. Like
he said, he's a big piece of shit.
Yeah, no, he is the piece of shit. But again. He's not a villain. He's just a flawed. He's just a bad character person.
He's just a bad hero. He's a great character.
Having said that, back in the museum, that he and Wally have to fight Kronos.
Yeah, Kronos is like
devious of time travelers.
By the way, wait. There's a when Kronos shows up, it's the best. He's holding, and granted, it's just comic books and it's like a time museum, but he's holding Kang's head. From Marvel. I thought it was funny. Oh, really? He's just like cradling Kang's head. He's like, I've got a time thing. He's just like another like an object that I can use to travel through time. I thought it was pretty funny.
But the other thing I love is like Kronos' plan didn't require him to reveal himself to anybody. No. But like just apropos of nothing, he says, the evil travelers here.
Perhaps they have reason to be. Am I wrong?
Reason to fear the
Am I wrong, you heroes?
And he didn't
Kronos?
Even left. Oh, Kronos.
So John Fox throws some like what's called sands of time in the fucking museum, like at the speed robots, and they're they start going too fast, which limits Kronos' ability to like travel back and forth through time. So he's kind of like locked in one spot, and they can very quickly. Well, actually, it happens accidentally, but like a piece of the fucking robot's exploding, hits Kronos' vest or whatever that he uses to travel through time, and it like breaks it, and he goes what? And he
just gets sucked into time.
Yeah, that's it.
But this is the part where John says, Linda's the name of your true love, Flash.
He's like, Wally, hang on, listen to me. So in the fight, like he sees Wally kind of collapse, and like he's not, like he's trying to fight and trying to help John, but like he collapses, and basically he runs up and he's like,
this
Linda.
is the part.
What?
Yeah.
And he's like, her name, it's in the history books. Her name was Linda. And he re-solidifies.
And then Flash decides to run back and through time or whatever. But this is
yeah,
the
he's
part
like,
that
I think
made
I have
me-
one. I have one last burst. You know, I can do it.
This is the part in John Fox's arc that made me realize, like, okay, this guy's a little bit shady. Is the way he walks with his arms behind him.
Yeah, and he's like, he
He's
kicks
just
the.
kicking
He's
the
like,
robots.
"Fuck you, speed robots!
Yeah, he's
I'm
just
back.
kicking
I'm back on the top of the pile."
That's when I got that Duke Lacrosse team kind of immature, entitled guy character.
Yeah. So again, something about this issue, like, really, again, maybe it's Wally's supposed death at the end of it, but it's really just like Wally's, I don't know, love of his girlfriend. Like, that's a huge, like, again, that wasn't like a normal thing in comics back then. Like that, like, yeah, they had like love interests and stuff, but like, there wasn't this like huge dynamic of like them being integral to each other's lives and like, you know, what brought them together kind of thing. I don't know. I find it really fascinating.
Yeah, but then so Flash runs into time as Linda and John kiss.
Yeah, John kisses Linda, or she kisses him back. I don't know. That's up for debate. Again, like at the time, I was like,
he initiates. I mean, he initiates.
Well, yeah, sure, of course
definitely.
He does.
As he should. The man should always initiate, right?
So,
so that's fine.
So as they're having a conversation, Wally starts to feel himself like, you know, lose himself in the Speed Force, and then as they kiss, he dissipates the same way Savitar did, the same way Johnny Quick did.
Yeah.
So like, in terms of an issue, when you're like comparing it to Dead Heat and like the times before where Wally has gone in and out of the Speed Force with no problem, like this is the part where you're like, oh shit, that's why he never made it back.
All right. Flash Frozen.
Flash Frozen 116. This is essentially John Fox fucking up as a hero, legitimately. While Linda is like, I find you suspicious. Like, you know, does that sum it up pretty well?
Pretty much. She goes, something doesn't add up here.
Something doesn't add up here. Yeah. You keep avoiding the topic of Wally, and whenever I bring him up, you're like, he's not coming back. And then, you know, you keep saying you met him, but you won't explain it, you know.
And the main action going on in this is basically they find out that the bad guys are trying to build a new ice age because John mentions like, hey, in the future I know that an ice age happens.
Yeah, it's not just that. From the bad guys' perspective, Iris has told them that happens, which again we find out is actually fine.
Well, right, but I mean more from John and Linda's side. Yeah, the bad guys. This is all basically a self-fulfilling prophecy because they found out from Iris that there's an ice age. So the bad guys' plan is to
an ice age
cause the ice age so that they can rule over it.
Yeah.
But so the action going on is that they freeze the reservoir, which creates an iceberg, not an iceberg, a glacier, and this glacier kind of spreads across across the city.
Conveniently just going throughout the buildings.
Yeah. So John splits off to go fight the glacier while Linda notices something off with her phone in the cabin conveniently nearby and notices that there's magnetic.
Well, they go to the source of the ice and Linda's like, I'll investigate that. You go stop the iceberg.
Yeah. And this is also when we find out that it's the other floating guy is Abracadabra.
Abracadabra.
Unana. Abracadabra.
Unana.
So, again, not a whole lot happens in this other than that.
Well, Linda gets frozen.
Well,
it's just showing how incompetent John is.
It really was. But also, like, the disgusting, like, I mean, I say disgusting, that's a little harsh. But, like, it just goes, when he's like, oh, that went smoothly. Perhaps you could be a little more indecisive in front of your new girlfriend.
Yeah.
Fuck off, dude.
It's bad.
It's been 5 seconds. You've known her for 3 days.
He has the cringiest inner monologue.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
I can ever remember in comics. It is the most just cringe, icky, uncomfortable inner dialogue you'll ever hear out of a hero.
That's kind of what solidifies him as a piece of shit to me. It's not like, I don't know. it's not like he does anything that's horrible per se, other than just like misreading situations. But when you hear it from his own perspective, you're like, God damn, dude. That's
Yeah,
not
you're
what's
like,
happening
that
at
is
all.
not the right take. Yeah, that is not the right take.
That is not what's happening.
Yeah, that's not what you should
Okay.
take away. But by the end of it, they do confront Polaris and Abracadabra briefly.
Yeah, so after Linda enters the building, cops show up and they get frozen. So
Yeah.
that's the key, is to when she leaves the building,
She gets frozen
She gets
because
frozen.
it's the Ice Age.
But also, you know, speaking of people getting murdered, like John Fox shows up and just smashes those cops to death by running.
Yeah.
Just by running. Just runs up to the building and the cops shatter out of
and again he just says like, "Oh, come on, get your head in the game, man. Damn it."
He's like, I deserved. He said, I deserved to be a hero.
Deserved to be here. That's what got me when he said, I deserve to be a hero. Yeah.
Anyway, he jumps in there and tries to flash it up, and then they bat him aside, essentially.
And then, Linda runs out. She gets frozen. And then let's go to 1117.
And then finally, 1117.
So Linda runs outside. Well, so first Linda tells him off, and she's like, "Fuck off, John. I don't want to be a part of this anymore."
I'll admit I got confused because they were kissing at the end of the last issue, and then they were kissing at the beginning of this issue.
I think
and for some reason, my brain thought it was two different kisses.
I think it was one. It was the one kiss.
Yeah, it was one kiss.
But again, it's different artists, so they were wearing different clothes, Patrick. So like,
well, until it got to Linda like telling him off, I was like, I thought Linda had like officially moved on with this guy, and I was just.
She literally
really
says like, he's like, Linda, to me, listen to me. I can't let it go. Can't let it too late before I tell you how I feel about you. And she's like, "Oh, not now, John."
Yeah.
She's
like, "There's a glacier destroying."
And she's like, "But you kissed me." She's like, "No, you kissed me." Anyway, let's think about like anyway. And then she also kind of says shit like, "You have secrets from me too." Like, it's the same problem I'm having with Wally. Like,
but it's also similar. It's on the same thing. We talked about it with Final Cut. Is just this, he's just this insecure loser male who doesn't interpret interactions with women correctly.
So anyway,
then Flash arrives as soon as she's ice. Flash arrives.
Yeah, which again, it says crack a boom. There's shockwaves on the ground. John Fox just ran past some cops and they shattered into pieces of ice. And yet Linda, I'm just saying, it's the one part of that where I'm like, that doesn't make a lot of sense, but all right. So anyway, Flash arrives via lightning bolt, and somehow Linda doesn't shatter.
So strong, it keeps the ice together.
Okay. All right.
I do like how Wally is immediately pissed at John.
Oh,
I appreciate that. He just tells them off from the jump.
He just left John.
Yeah, he just saw this guy.
Yeah.
He's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Just left John and got back in time, and Linda's ice, and he's there, and he's like, what the fuck, John?
Yeah. It's like, what are you doing, bud? What's happening?
What you doing, buddy? John, is that you? I left you in the 27th century. What are you doing here? What's going on?
And John's just like, I was tucking you out of a life. That's all. It's just taking your place.
I did like how John was like, I never lied. And then Wally's like, you never told the truth either.
Yeah.
Like, you fucking asshole.
Boy, are we just talking about politics now? This feels like we could just be talking about
basically.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not true. I mean,
so again, this is my least favorite issue of this entire run, because it's basically just Wally going like, I'm going to run to Star Labs and get a MacGuffin thing to put around Linda.
That's the one
While
thing
I go to Star Labs and get a MacGuffin thing to find the bad guys.
But also,
it's kind of
Wally. But I also, speaking of Wally, the entire city is being destroyed, and he just doesn't have any time for it. He just saves Linda. And
she's his lightning rod, Al.
I found it a little problematic that the hero is just letting the town burn while he just saves his little girlfriend.
She's kind of important.
He does save the town. He does save the town as well.
She's kind of important to him.
I know. It's just a little.
I mean, in fairness, he did those things simultaneously, and they probably took about 3 seconds.
Well, also, I don't think he knew. I don't think he knew that there was. Like, John fails to mention that until...
Yeah, John does not mention that things are... Yeah, it's true.
He's like, there's a fucking glacier? What are you talking about?
In his defense, John never told him the world is ending at any point in time. Okay, but they do the whole Star Labs back and forth and all that, and then they attack Polaris and Abracadabra's base.
Yeah, they zip in and they free Iris, because of course you got to free Iris, because she's so awesome and important.
And Abracadabra throws knives at Flash, but not to kill him. Why not?
Abracadabra is exactly what you've been saying about Polaris the entire time, and he loves a good show, and he doesn't give a fuck.
He is also pretty theatrical. He's also a drama student. He's a drama kid.
That's all he wants to do. That's all his whole deal. The entire reason he's a villain is so he can do a fucking show in front of people. He doesn't give a fuck about anything.
But they could have basically won if he had just stabbed Flash instead of throwing the knives around him.
He's also hideously scarred because of Wally, which is why he looks bald and scratchy. Although this artist doesn't do a great job of doing it.
No, he does kind of look fucked up, yeah.
Yeah, he looks a little fucked up, but not...
I mean, he looks like he's got bad eczema or something, not...
Yeah.
You know.
Kadabra doesn't actually have magic. He uses technology from the 64th century. Wally was just the ruler of.
Yeah, I liked the Flash feint where he goes, "No, please spare me, spare Linda, don't hurt us."
And then he
just goes, "Misdirection."
Yeah,
just one word, like you fool, misdirection.
Classic,
gotcha.
Classic Wally. To your point, Al, you mentioned this earlier. You liked this.
This was cool too. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
The MacGuffins are dumb and they annoy me.
No, but how they beat Polaris, I liked, was pretty cool because basically
super speeding Polaris, yeah.
So Polaris basically says, "Prepare to die, Flashes," and he is winding up to do a beam attack.
Yeah,
and the Flashes grab him, run him across town to where the death ray is. Yeah. And in the time that it's taking him to load up and unleash his beam, they place him in front of the machine so that he destroys his own machine. It's pretty cool. Yeah. I thought that was a neat way to...
This is where the Flash goes, "That takes care of the frost machine." And then John goes, "The glacier." And Wally goes, "Glacier?" When the freeze came, it turned the reservoir to ice and burst the dam. It's still cutting through Midtown. And Wally goes,
You didn't think to
mention this until now? To mention this until now. I mean, in fairness, that's why he saved his girlfriend before the city. He probably still would have done the same. But
just quicker.
He didn't know. I do really love the fast forwarding the bad guy, like prepare to die, like as it's like zipping to the machine to blow it up.
So Wally's basically like, "I'm gonna cut the blood off from your brain, Polaris, if you don't."
Yeah, he threatens
Polaris's life unless he stops the water from. So that's another thing. The ice just immediately turns to water. I thought that was weird.
Well,
all right.
Well, how does magnetism move water? Like, how could he?
Okay, that was my question. How did that work? How did that work?
I mean, he basically has magnetic force fields. So, like, like if that's his power, I guess
he can create force.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's making.
Doesn't matter.
He's basically making a giant pipe.
Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Which is silly, but
it doesn't matter. He melts the ice and rechannels it back into the reservoir.
Into the river, but yeah.
And then he cackles and flies away. And the Flash lets him fly away because why not?
I mean, he doesn't cackle and fly away. He's just like, release me. And then he flings them back. And he's like, John says he's getting away. And Wally just goes, "For now." Like, he just goes, "Yeah, I'm not worried about that guy normally." Like, if I'm here, it's not a threat.
But also, I
just kind of love that. It's kind of funny in a way.
Yeah, but also,
I mean, that bad guy you were super concerned about, John Fox, not a big deal.
I would ask Wally, though, why not put him in jail? Like, why not have this man face consequences?
Because he's flying. Wally can't get him.
Just seems like you could have.
Because he's he's an injured coyote or whatever the metaphor is. He might do something crazy and kill someone. I don't know.
And then now we get to the 118, the last issue when the time comes.
He said he's wasted and no threat for the moment. I mean, if you're the Flash, what's tomorrow? That's 1,000 milliseconds from now.
What if he attacks another city without the Flash tomorrow?
He'll get him before he opens his eyes.
I have some notes for Wally.
All right.
But so the robot time cops arrive, and then we get to the final issue, 118.
Yeah, I don't. This is even falling further from the fill-in artist. So this is by far the worst art in this entire run.
It honestly, it looks like late 70s, early 80s
It's
art.
so bad.
It looks like a weird, outdated
and like
art
the
style,
speed metal robots. The best artist on this entire run, Oscar Jimenez, obviously, right? The speed robots drawn by him don't look that great. So every single time somebody else draws them, I'm like, Jesus Christ, I don't even know what the fuck I'm looking at.
Yeah. So but I think
it's just, it's so bad.
Yeah, I mean, this issue is, the resolution. We can we don't have to go page by page or anything, but basically Linda's still frozen. While she's frozen, the future time cops arrive looking for
the speed metal shows up to capture John Fox, and they're basically like, we're going to kill you now in the streets. We don't need due process. And he's like, no! And he escapes, and they have a big
Wally
thing.
decides to help. So even though Wally's mad at John, because basically, he still doesn't want John to die, so he helps him.
Basically, it's actually Piper who is like, hey,
like, Piper,
even though he's a piece of shit, they're going to kill him in your time. And he's like, oh, yeah, right. Yeah, I can't let that happen.
You're right.
And then they again have a running fight.
They do.
But it's a run fight.
Wally's clever with the way he destroys the robots, though, because
because the robots are resistant to a lot of traditional Flash tricks, so they have to sort of
and also
phase them through.
Wally, as we all know, mainlines the Speed Force, so he's really tapped in.
Yeah. It'd be great if after he stops running, he just kind of like knocks white powder off his nose. And he's like,
we do get
I'm just mainlining it. I'm good.
We do get a brief scene from Iris saying goodbye to Linda while she's frozen in ice.
Yeah, what the fuck was that? I'm like, lady, what?
Just Iris going.
Iris is the worst.
I'm going to say goodbye because I'm fucking up the past with my knowledge of the future. See you later.
You are.
Also, here's a giant book that has all of my knowledge of the future in it.
Yeah, go home, Iris. Just go home, Iris.
I mean, it happens. It happens in the stories. So.
But they overcome these time robots and defeat them.
Yeah. So John Fox has this brilliant idea that because of Wally's control over the Speed Force / speed in general, that he could speed her molecules up slowly one by one and kind of free her from the ice, and it works. So I guess,
and she's alive.
Good job, John Fox, for not fucking up one.
Yeah,
did it.
I did. So one thing I'll say positive about this artist is it does look like sort of genuine joy when Linda and Wally.
Yeah, they do
and they're
happy.
crying and they look very happy to see each other. And then John just says well, I'm gonna go to a different time period. And everyone's cool with it. Everyone's cool with it. They're like, all right, bye, John.
That makes this whole thing so fucked up. Oh man. I mean, not that you should be you should go to jail. Just, I don't know what is the proper resolution here. But just letting him loose into the time stream seems like a bad idea.
It just seems like something you should talk about for more than 5 sentences. And instead, John just says well, there's plenty of other timelines.
There's a bright, wide open future waiting out there. Yeah. And with these, I can get there wherever, whenever that may be. No, go back to your own fucking time and be an ineffectual piece of shit. That's the end of your arc. You don't just get to wander off into the future and have a good life. Go back to where you came from. Put the fucking gauntlets off back in their little case where they go. I don't know.
There's that DC 1 million storyline with the Future Justice League, and he's the Flash on that team. So I guess that's the future he goes to.
He's like, I gotta go really far.
Yeah, I gotta get pretty far from here.
I gotta go really far out of here.
Yeah. But that's it. And then so Wally and Linda are reunited, and that's it. That's kind of the end of the storyline. We're here.
Yeah, we did it.
Do you? Before we move on, can we reset kind of the call, because I'm getting a weird feedback vibe.
What is it?
In my earphone, it kind of sounds like does this pass the Bechdel test? The Bechdel
The Bechdel
test.
test,
Does
the
this
Bechdel
pass
test.
the Bechdel test? The answer's probably
Probably
no.
no.
This one doesn't.
No.
This one's a no. There's no
The only
real
woman
girl.
to
Axis
woman
is gone. Iris is by herself, all locked up. Linda's frozen the whole time.
There's one panel where Iris says goodbye, Linda,
To a
And she's
frozen block of ice.
to a frozen
Yeah.
Linda, and that's it. That's really the only interaction we get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one doesn't pass. So do better, Mark
No.
Waid. Do better
Mark
next
Waid.
time.
I would say both John and Wally are on the Snyder Zoo scale, though. I would say they both.
They are
short.
ripped to shreds. Yeah,
John
they
is?
look good.
Yeah, in the very first issue he's introduced in, he's like wide. He's
Yeah,
very
when
big.
Linda's applying first aid to him too, like
Oh,
he's
that
got
one?
a pretty muscular shape.
No, when he shows up,
chest.
to save her from the Chilblain guy from the first time, he's
It's Chilblain. It's Blaine.
Chilblain,
Like David
Chilblain.
Blaine. Chilblain.
Oh, I thought
Yeah,
Chilblain.
Chilblain would be a better name, but it's Chilblain.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Who the
What
fuck?
does Blaine mean?
You're asking the wrong guy.
I suck at
Polaris
this.
also.
It's like that. Oh God, it's so bright. That
I would say
is
Oscar
huge.
Jimenez drawing. Oh yeah, he's huge in that. That is really bright.
Also,
I
Polaris.
think I have that. I have that. I have that.
Polaris
Hold on, I'll
does
pull it
not
up.
skip
Here you
leg
go.
day. He's got
There's the
built thighs.
Polaris is
All right,
also
Oscar
you know,
Jimenez
got
drawing
some
him
friends.
is less impressive than Wally. That's all I'm saying. Like comparatively speaking.
Well, he's less impressive than Wally in every possible
yeah,
measure.
in general.
That's yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah.
All right. So how should we? Do we recommend this? How do we feel? Do we recommend this? This
I
arc?
recommend this eternally.
In all the future time period, in
all the
possible
future
time
timelines.
periods?
No, I mean, like I've said it 100 times, so I'll go first. But like, I love the fuck out of Wally West. He's my favorite Flash ever. This story arc specifically got me into that character and made me read all of the things that came before and all the things that came after. I love Wally West so much. This book made me fall in love with him. Can't possibly not recommend this. Does it work better with Dead Heat in conjunction with it? Sure, of course. But like this is like again, and is it bad 90s comics? Yeah, kind of. But yeah,
Yep.
I love it.
I recommend it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I actually preferred this to Dead Heat.
Red Heat with Arnold.
Red Heat was the Schwarzenegger movie. No, but I preferred it to Dead Heat. I thought it was good. We already touched on this, but I thought as much as I hated John as a person, I thought his character was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Just this sort of flawed, weak of morals man trying to be a hero as he conceives it and just failing at it was sort of interesting. And Polaris and Abracadabra, in their defense, put on a great show. They put on a good performance,
Really good magic
and
show.
I enjoyed it. Yeah. So I recommend it.
I mean, Wally had to force the prestige, at the end with the water, but it's fine.
Yeah.
It's still a good show.
To go against the grain, I don't think I'd recommend it. I just hated John Fox. As I mentioned before, I just hate the whole Avalon gargoyle plot structure. I think if it was truncated into like 4 issues, Linda, I think, had some great moments, but at the same time, I was just very frustrated with her for not asking more questions about what John knew. It dragged for me a little bit. The stuff with John.
Oh, you know what? You're right. I feel like
dragged
if they had sped up her thought processes with John and truncated it into 4 issues, you're not wrong. I think it might have been.
I think it was just too.
Yeah,
like,
it's
I feel
weird.
like I feel like the stuff with Wally with like the tornado twins and the future where everyone was obsessed with him, like could have been the same issue, and I just felt like a lot of it was dragged. It took too long. I think I enjoyed it more after we got to the issue where we get the backstory of John and Wally. Yeah. So after that, I liked it more. The stuff leading up to it, I think they teased it a little bit for a little bit too long.
So it's weird because I had the opposite experience where Dead Heat dragged more for me than this. However, I will say that I did not read the future episodes. I just skipped the parts in the future.
You're such an asshole.
It was I mean, it was pretty clear to me they were not going to be important, and so I just flipped.
You're right, but
you're a horrible person. You're a horrible person now.
So
it's funny that you mentioned that, because in one of those future issues, there is a scene where Iris talks to her future self. And although it's Iris talking to Iris, like, it counts as passing the Bechdel test. I mean, if you'd read the issue, you'd know that.
I wouldn't, but I didn't, so I don't know. I did see the one issue. I mean, I did read through the part with John in the museum. So
well, this is the best issue.
Yeah, and I got the pleasure of seeing Kronos. No one expected Kronos.
So from a deep cut, like, Flash fan, like the reconciliation with Don and Dawn, however dumb their names are, it is kind of a cool beat to hit. And like, yeah, did that need to be a full issue? Maybe not. Yeah, maybe you're right. But like it's such a brief span of time in the span of like a jillion issues to spend with them. So like,
yeah,
to me, one issue to spend with them doesn't seem like a lot. But like, yeah, in the span of 6 issues, yeah, you're right. Maybe that was too long.
I mean, I enjoyed their bit more than the future where everyone's obsessed with like that issue. I was like,
yeah, the Flash worship one was just a complete
yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, I think we did it.
Right.
I think that was it.
I think we won comics for the week, boys.
Good journey, everyone.
All right. Goodbye.
Goodbye.